Taoiseach, the scandal of abuse and neglect of elderly residents at 2 of the country's nursing homes has deepened with the publication of a HIQA report last night. It revealed that one of those homes, Beneven Manor in Glasnevin, had almost 200 allegations of abuse of residents in the last 3 years. HIQA has notified the Gardaí about its concerns regarding these 2 nursing homes, and they've requested that Amish Ireland, the company that owns these 2 facilities, stop admissions to all 25 of the homes it controls. Taoiseach, how can we have 198 allegations of abuse at just 1 nursing home, and yet it took an RTE programme to expose this scandal? What we witnessed on our TV screens was horrific. Vulnerable elderly people manhandled, neglected, disrespected, pushed down hallways, roughly forced into chairs, all by the very people who are supposed to care for them. Their families are absolutely devastated, and they are calling on the government to act now. The HIQA report reveals that these weren't one-off failures in care caught on camera. The culture of abuse and neglect at Beneven Manor was obviously endemic, hardwired into the operation of the home, and went on for a very long time. It's clear that Amish didn't fear HIQA. Quite frankly, they didn't give a toss about regulations or inspections. Little wonder, because HIQA's hands are tied behind its back. They don't have the legal power to impose fines. The corporate entities that own these nursing homes are out of their reach, and HIQA badly needs new powers to deal with both of these fundamentals. The toxic culture in these nursing homes, the regulatory and governance failure that allows this wholesale abuse of elderly residents is a direct result of government policy. For decades now, campaigners have called for robust adult safeguarding legislation to protect residents in nursing homes, but their calls have been ignored by you. 20 years on from the big promises of change made after Lee's Cross, we've had a litany of abuse scandals. The Brandon case, the Grace case, Ars Subtracta, case after case, abuse after abuse, and yet government sits on its hands. No safeguarding legislation, no mandatory reporting, no legal right of entry for social care teams to investigate complaints, no accountability ever. This abuse and neglect has happened with the corporate takeover of nursing homes and care. 20 years ago, 30% of nursing homes were in private hands. Today, that stands at 80%. So the state walks away from its responsibilities, and the profit of wealthy companies are put above the care and the dignity of the very people who built this country. Tura atá sa scannal seo maidir le druc ide agus nabhaird a bhí léirithe de seandaoine ina gcónaí i dtithe altranais hep an rialtas gníomhú. Tá stíon reachtaíocht loidir cosanta de dhaoine fásta go pránach. Taoiseach, you may well seek to distance government from this scandal, but the fact is the neglect and abuse, the weak regulation and oversight is a direct result of government policy, a policy to allow big corporates take over nursing homes. So you need to act now, Taoiseach. When will you listen to the calls of families and campaigners? When will HIQA have the powers that it needs? When will you bring forward robust safeguarding legislation, mandatory reporting legislation, and ensure that our elderly citizens are safe and respected?
But first of all, one of the most difficult decisions for any family to have to take is to place a loved one in a nursing home. It's a very, very difficult decision. And the least people can expect is that the dignity of your loved one will at all times be respected, and that your loved one will be looked after and cared for, and would not be subjected to the abuse, neglect, and absolutely unacceptable behaviour as revealed in the RTE Investigates programme. And I pay tribute to RTE Investigates for their programme, and the importance of it in terms of this issue. There is a fundamental obligation on the nursing homes concerned and all involved to look after people in their care. And in no circumstances can abuse of people be tolerated. And people have a right to expect that level of care. I would also say that even in recent times, additional measures to strengthen the powers of the Chief Inspector of HIQA has occurred from 2017 to 2021 onwards. And there's a whole range of additional measures and capacity and power and so on, which was outlined in the interim report of HIQA, which was published yesterday. And in my view, when you look at the interim report, there are some very, very disturbing, clear facts. For example, 61% of these particular homes not adhering to fire regulations. Now, to me, that's a red alarm. And there are powers to close. There are powers in existence to cancel. And that is described sometimes as a nuclear option. But in my view, when things are at the level that they are, as revealed in this report, in terms of more fundamental issues like that, where clearly the health and safety of residents is at stake, then that's an option. And I know it brings with it a whole range of issues, but it's one that in the past used to be invoked, and the HSE would be engaged, and we've all been subject to HIQA investigations and reports where they would have been recommending closure, and people would, say, well, what about our loved ones? Where do they go? But there does come a point, if the level of, and it's clear from the reports here in respect of the lack of compliance on a number of key areas in the report, and the one that jumps out, in my view, is the fire regulations in the report itself. Plus other aspects of either partial compliance or non-compliance. This is deeply traumatic for the families involved. Our system is, about 75% of nursing home centres are in private hands, 20% publicly owned, 3.5% roughly are Section 38s or 39s. The Fair Deal scheme was the last major intervention in trying to facilitate and make it more affordable for people in respect of sending their loved ones and placing their loved ones in nursing homes. So, and then in the last number of years, the push has been towards home care. But home care also involves privatised nursing care. People contract in people to help. I'll come back to it. And the final point is going to be
Taoiseach, you're not a commentator on these matters. I mean, you're after giving me a whole spiel there that told me precisely nothing, with all due respect. 198 complaints against a nursing home and not a cent of financial penalty. No consequences until RTE shows up. Now, that tells you that your system is not working, Taoiseach, and it's not sufficient for you to take to your feet and offer tea and sympathy. We all know how difficult it is for anybody to make a decision to place a loved one in a nursing home, how difficult it is for the person themselves to lose that sense of autonomy that comes with all of that. You should know also there are people across the state terrified that they would ever end up in a nursing home. More families worried sick about the treatment of their loved ones in these facilities. And I've made the point around the corporate takeover of care, and you facilitated that. HIQA cannot investigate individual complaints. They can't make financial penalties. They can't reach into these corporate structures. What are you going to do about that? And can you please answer my question on safeguarding legislation, mandatory reporting, and the need for social care teams to have access to these homes to protect these very vulnerable elderly people?
Could I first of all all say that the interim report outlines a whole series of measures that were taken to enhance and to strengthen the measures and the powers of the Chief Inspector of HECO in terms of the legal time frame for decisions by the Chief. You're interrupting again, Deputy. I've had enough of that now. Deputy, I've had the floor now.
Your seat and
this is no, sorry. I will answer it, but you have a tactic all the time of interrupting every time I get to my feet and make a point. And I don't interrupt.
Deputies, do you want? The clock is ticking. If you wish to have an answer, Deputy McLaughlin, it's not your question. It's not your question. Taoiseach, please resume your response.
The fundamental power that HECO has, particularly in the face of breaches, in my view, and it's one that should not be balked at, is cancellation of the licence. In my view, that is the teeth that HECO had. And I think, yes, we do need to review the methodology of HECO's, and they've said it themselves.
Thank you, Taoiseach.
92. No, sorry.
I understand.
No, hold on a second.
It's not your fault, and it's certainly not the other members.
But how long is this going to continue?
I think this is the problem, Taoiseach.
Well, no, sorry, it's my problem. I'm not in a position now to answer.
Because
I can't get my points across.
Thank you, Taoiseach.
Because of this constant.
Yes, I agree.
No, but could I ask you now, through the chair, given what has happened and what has happened in the last number of weeks, I want a review of how this is happening, because I'm not going to come in here and listen to everybody and give them the courtesy of listening and not being allowed to reply. That's fundamentally wrong. And it needs an intervention from you, Ceann Comhairle, and the whips as well, and the chief whips to sort this out.
Excuse me, Deputy. There is a time frame for which you can provide the answer. If they choose not to listen, Taoiseach, it's kind of pointless asking the question. And I think the reality is that everybody, Deputy, should be afforded the opportunity, as you were by your colleagues, to ask the question. I'd expect. I'm speaking, Deputy.
As am I. I am entitled to questions.
I'm speaking, Deputy, so I would expect that you stop speaking when I speak. And what I'm asking is that everybody afford each other the same level of respect. In that way, the House will operate in decorum. Deputy Ivana.